A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Very good day to everybody. So let us continue our online lecture for my subject Islamic Work Ethics AAM3063. We are going to discuss about the next chapter, which is chapter number 9 or topic number 9, professional ethics. Alright, right after, the objectives of the chapter or the topic. After you have read this topic, inshallah, you should be able to identify the terms of profession and professional. Inshallah, you can explain the criterions for professional ethics. And then, I do hope that you can analyze the functions of professional code of ethics. And then you can synthesize the importance of professional services and its obligations. Alright. As the beginning, the original meaning of professional derived from the Middle English profess, an adjective meaning having professed one's boast, which itself derived from late Latin professus, past participle of profiteri, which meant to profess or confess. So the idea was that professionals were those who professed their skill to others and vowed to perform their profession to the highest standard. For instance, if you are a teacher, so your profession is teacher, educator. So you are professed. You have the capability, you have the knowledge, you have the skills, to be a teacher. So you are a professional, who professed your teaching skill to the students, to the stakeholders, to the school, and then you vowed to perform your profession as a teacher to the highest standard. You vote means you put all your effort, you put all your focus, you put all your ikhlas, and so on for the sake of your profession as a teacher. So that's an example lah. Alright. The term profession originates from the Latin word profiteri, which is to declare aloud or profess a special vocation. So professed means a person with monastic vows, a person who had made public promise to enter a distinct way of life with high moral standards. If you are a medical doctor, for instance, so you are professed. It means that you put your monastic vows, your decree, your focus, your life, for your particular profession. A person who had made public promise. A doctor, a medical doctor had made public promise to enter a distinct way, to enter a different kind of way, special kind of way of life, whereby you put all your efforts, your time, your daily activity for your profession. So you are professed. And then profession, it means that occupation or job which one professes to be skilled in and to follow. For example, you are a motorcycle mechanic. So your profession as a motorcycle mechanic related to the field of study or the field of skill, which you are master enough, you are good enough in it, so that what we call as profession lah, the occupation as a motorcycle mechanic. And then according to Martin and Sinziger, profession is a vocation in which professed knowledge of some branch of learning is used in its application to the affairs of others or in the practice of an art based upon it. For example, if you are, let's say, a chef, you're very good in your cook and your recipe and so on. So when we talk about profession as a chef, so it is a vocation. Vocation means the skills, the knowledge, the attitude that you have in which profess knowledge as a chef. okay, of some branch of learning, means some branch of cooking learning, is used in its application to the affairs of others. You are cooking for others, for your customers and so on, in the practice of an art based upon that chef life lah, as a cook, right? So if you are having a profession of, let's say, up there, apa tu, as a police, so you are professed enough in your knowledge and skills as a police, so you serve the country, you have your monastic vow to be pengaman, ataupun to be the person who can be relied on by the rakyat, by the people, as a police, to take care of the safety, to safeguard the nation from any dangerous or evilish kind of acts and so on. And then atas tu apa lagi yang sebelah kanan tu, itu apa kerja dia tu, what is the profession there. So ini namanya cobbler, cobbler. So cobbler ni adalah tukang kasut. So he or she is professed enough in terms of fixing shoes, okay, and so on. So the profession of a cobbler means they are giving their monastic vow in terms of taking care of shoes, okay, to repair shoes and so on. And then down there we have the nurses. And then apa lagi satu gambar di situ? Itu ialah Tok Mudim yang ni. Ni Tok Mudim. Okay, so Tok Mudim is professed enough in terms of cutting out unnecessary things lah. Okay, kita sambung. Ini contoh saja. Alright, profession and professional. In general, profession can be defined as occupation. Senang je. While professional refers to someone who works in particular profession. Apa contoh dia? Architect. Okay, so profession as architect. So they are professional. Professional in terms of they have the capability in their particular profession lah. Engineer, teacher, executive and so on. Alright, so yang lain tu boleh baca sendiri. Thus, okay, maka it is understood that profession is a job that requires a skillful and proficient workers in order to assure excellent performance to society or to the customer or to the people who need our skills and knowledge. Itu namanya profession. As a lecturer, for instance, I'm having my job as a lecturer which requires my skill to teach, my skill to share, my skill to do research and so on, so that I can assure my excellent performance as an educator or a lecturer to the needy, to the society, to the students and so on. Apart from that, the right obtained by the profession gives professional employees freedom to work in their field and protect the privilege of the profession as well. So if you are working as a lecturer, again, I want to take it as an example. So I have the right, okay, to obtain my freedom as a lecturer. I can choose what kind of thing that I like to explore in the field of human resource management knowledge, or I have the freedom to associate my capacity and knowledge of human resource management with maybe da'wah or Islamic management. So this is what we call as the profession, right? Had the right, okay, to do whatever he or she likes, okay, in terms of the job, with the freedom, right? And we have the protection for our occupation as a lecturer. Itu contohnya lah. So since the professional workers each given the privilege to conduct their work, so the codes of professional ethics is formed to monitor their activities. So apa maksudnya di sini? The introduction of codes of conduct ataupun codes of professional ethics will be a kind of guidance for a person who we call as professional and has some has a profession, alright? So we need to have this professional ethics, okay, to monitor our activities. Professional ethics codes lah to monitor activities. Furthermore, it is meant to protect public from unethical or incompetent professionals and to protect the profession from unethical practices by any of its members. For example, if a person is a medical doctor, so they are having their professionalism, they are having their integrity and so on, because they been canvassed by what we call as the codes of conduct or codes of professional ethics. It means that they can do whatever they like in terms of doing their job, but they are being controlled by the code of professional ethics to make sure that everybody will work with one same and similar standard. Alright, if they are working as doctors or medical doctors. Okay, so what are the core features of profession? According to several theorists, according to several scholars, members of a profession possess a body of specialized knowledge and practical skills. They are usually taught in a university, alright, and the content of training is controlled by members of the profession. So the profession has a cognitive and theoretical basis for its practices. So it means that members of a profession of maybe a lecturer, for instance, we have our body of specialized knowledge and practical skills. Okay, we are having maybe the same knowledge in certain field. So the similarity is being governed by a body of specialized knowledge and practical skills. Okay. A profession produces and evaluates new knowledge in its field. Alright, so research maintains the body of knowledge. Professions hold a monopoly over practice in their field of work. This is sanctioned by national or regional governments. Legal agreements have been reached to prevent people who are not registered from practicing the profession. Yes, if you are working as a medical doctor, for instance, you must, it is an obligation, a person who finish his study on medical, okay, so they must been governed by an organisation lah sebenarnya. So kerana apa? Because we don't want, okay, the particular medical doctor hold a monopoly over the practice of their field work lah. Itu tak berapa kena. So that's why we need to be governed by what we call as legal agreement lah, ataupun an organisation under this legal agreement. Contohnya persatuan pengamal perubatan ke, ataupun persatuan pensyarah universiti ke, ataupun persatuan engineer ke. So they are under what we call as legal agreement to make sure that nobody is monopolizing anything based on their profession. Okay, so each profession has a strong internal organisation run through institutions with membership dues that support a headquarters which maintains a register of practitioners and runs the entrance exams required for admission. So as a counsellor, for instance, I take another example. So as a counsellor, you must be a qualified counsellor. How? You must be in the membership of counsellors. Okay, we call it as maybe pekama and so on. So we need to register to make sure that we can practice, okay, and we can be the practitioner which been endorsed by that particular membership, and we need to enter several exams to the requirement for admission as a counsellor, for example. And then members swear loyalty to the profession, for sure, and must uphold its values. So this makes the organisation essentially conservative. So the profession exerts considerable control over the numbers to be trained and admitted to the profession. Okay, bukannya kita main lambak aja sejumlah doktor untuk menjadi doktor, okay, tapi they need to enter several steps lah. They need to follow several steps before they can practice in the hospital ke, in the clinic ke, and so on. Alright, so that the professionalism is always there lah. Okay. And then the work of a professional can only fairly be judged by another member of the profession who possesses the requisite skills. A doctor will always be evaluated by doctor in terms of whether or not they follow all the particulars or all the processes, okay, to stay in the realm of being a medical doctor lah. Okay. Hence, a professional supervisor is generally a member of the same profession, and the profession oversees the behaviors of its members. So this may lead to tensions, for example, between academics and also university administrators. So professions have a public ideology of service to the community, so they must place their clients' interests ahead of their own. So they cannot exploit their clients' ignorance to their own gain, and their conduct is guided by a code of ethics. Okay, so we found that there are several professionals out there. We always relate professionals as architect, medical doctor, lawyer, okay, and so on. Okay, but if we are having any other kind of jobs, okay, so it means that still we are being confined by the idea of what we call as profession and professional. Okay, so there are two criteria for the professionals. The first criteria is substantial intellectual and practical training, which involves the mastery of knowledge systemized through a long-term studying and research in any academic institution, and in the end, certified with degree is considered the first criteria for the professional. We cannot put aside the fact that if one person attended his study at the level of bachelor degree, for instance, or diploma, so this is the first criteria, okay, where you have your mastery of knowledge and you gain it in university lah, or in any higher education institutions. So it's systemized through a long-term studying, okay, like you lah, like all of you, you are having your 4 years in bachelor degree, for instance. Some of you had went through diploma level, okay, so this is what we call as the building of mastery of knowledge, and it's systemized. Disistemkan through a long term studying lah, bukan 1-2 hari, but maybe 3 to 4 years and so on. And then you are having your research, okay, your study, and then you at the end been certified with bachelor degree of dakwah and Islamic management, for instance, diploma in akidah and agama, for instance. Okay, so that's what we call as the first criteria for professional ethics. Second criteria, okay, professional autonomy and responsibility, which implies a degree of acceptance by society of the legitimacy of the claim for the control by the professional group, and its level is related to the type of work. Apalah maksud second criteria ni? Alright, first criteria dah lulus. A person, we want to call him as a teacher, for instance. So he sought his first degree in one of the universities, settle. So he've been certified with the degree, so dah fulfill first criteria. Now for the second criteria, that particular person, okay, must know that professional autonomy and responsibility, which implies a degree of acceptance by any other workers. That's what we call as society or the legitimacy of the claim. Okay, any other workers, any stakeholders that related to our job, our task, our profession. So we are having that autonomy and responsibility. So this is the second criteria. Okay. Alright. Next. Professional ethics concerns one's conduct of behavior and practice when carrying out professional work. So such work may include consulting or consultation, research, teaching, and so on. So the institutionalization of codes of conduct or code of practice is actually common with many professional bodies for their members to observe. Any code may be considered as a formalization of experience into a set of rules. So a community adopts a code because its members accept the adherence to this rule, and then including the restrictions that apply. So professional ethics also concerns matters such as professional indemnity. As a counselor, they put into their understanding that they must follow codes of conduct or codes of practice as a counselor. Okay, and then in the same time, okay, this code, okay, of conduct might be considered as a formalization or a development from the experience of being a counselor, or the experience of being a counselor, a professional counselor, for instance. So that kind of experience been transformed into a set of rules which been put in codes of conduct ataupun codes of practice. Okay. So if a person is following or adhering a code of conduct, so it means that the other members might accept the same kind of code of conduct. Okay. Next is professional ethics. Okay. Furthermore, as will readily be appreciated, no two codes of ethics are identical. They vary by difference. They vary by differences in cultural groups, by professional bodies, by profession, and also discipline. So the cultural group code of ethics is always controversial since it challenges the assumption that universal ethical principle exists. In some cultures, certain behaviors are certainly frowned upon, but in other cultures, the opposite may be true. For instance, software piracy. Okay, in certain country, software piracy is something that can bring you to the court. You might be summoned to the court, okay, and then it is not been permitted by that particular country. But in other countries, software piracy is okay as long as it is not related to maybe dangerous thing like or not so good things lah, like porno, war, okay, or something that can bring hateness and so on. So this is the thing, alright. It's based on culture, the acceptance of the country or the political will and so on. So functions of professional code of ethics, okay, according to Keith, Spiegel and Kuchar, the primary reasons for ethical codes are: number one, to protect the public from unethical or incompetent professionals. Number two, to protect the profession from any unethical practices by any of its members. So to give guidance on how to act and perform duty based on the common accepted behavioral standards set through the law and regulations of the organization and the moral value of the people in it. So this is the function of professional code of ethics. And then to maintain the state where everybody abides the practical working attitude needed by the organization in order to reach the objectives of the organization. For instance, we are having a medical doctor in town. So everybody is going to his clinic, okay, if they are fall sick, okay. But that particular doctor, they must know that they must, okay, it is obligation for them to follow professional code of ethics, because all of the people who go to his clinic, so he must make sure that he can protect the public from his own unethical or his incompetency as a medical doctor. Number two, to protect the profession from unethical practices by any of its members. So it means that if that particular medical doctor had been registered, okay, with the body of medical doctor and so on, okay, by KKM or Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia. So they must make sure that they can protect the profession as a medical doctor from any unethical practices by themselves or by any other of the members of that body lah, that medical doctor body itu. Okay. So for corporate ethics and its establishment of code of conduct, I hope that you can read this by yourselves. Alright. So take your time to read this. Okay. The slides have been shared with you before this, isn't it? So please read this part. Okay. Corporate ethics and its establishment of code of conduct by yourselves. Okay, I want to jump to the next topic, which is professional values. According to Muhammad Janib, he argued that professional values could be referred to obligation. What is obligation? Obligation is applied in determining what are the right and wrong values. Nevertheless, in certain conditions, some values are considered as agreement instead of obligation. So therefore, the main concern of professional ethics is the responsibility in doing the right thing. Okay. So according to Janib, there are 3 categories of professional values, or the 3 constitution of professional values. Number 1, we call it as standard. Number 2, responsibility. And number 3, regulation. So pula dia. Okay. Alright, talking about professional values, the 3 values that show professional obligations, according to Muhammad Janib, are number 1, standard. Number 2, responsibility. And number 3 is regulation. A mechanism to ascertain whether a person is good or bad, or that person is right or wrong, we call it as standard. Okay, and responsibility is like what been written in this slide. Same goes to regulation. So according to several scholars, there are several barriers on getting professional services. The main responsibility of professionals is to give their service equally to all people. Professional employees are not supposed to be injustice or discriminate others upon their religion, upon their race, gender, political view, and so on. According to Rosli Zawati, nonetheless, several economic factors, when we talk about economic perspective, so there are several economic factors hindered the opportunity of some professional employees in delivering professional service to their client. So, these economic factors, according to Rosli Zawati, are monopoly, service charge, publicity, and advertisement, right? And professional specialization. So talking about monopoly, monopoly prevents people from getting professional services at affordable cost, since professions, especially in medical service and law, are exclusive and protected by the law. Therefore, those who are not recognized legally by a special body in each professional bodies are not permitted to practice and deliver their service to public, even they meant to provide cheap rate of service. And then when we talk about service charge, okay, various service charges are obstacles to people who want to get services from professionals due to the added unwanted yet legally permitted charge, which need to be settled. For example, bank loan installment, lawyer's court case charge, and so on. Next is publicity and advertisement. Publicity regarding the service offered by professionals may lead to competition among them. Some dishonest elements such as provocation, persuasion, monopoly, fraud, and misjudgment may be used in order to attract potential customers. As a result, people may find that the service or product carries a lot of defects, quality that not match with the advertisement, and so on. So this could be unethical. Customers will be disappointed with that particular service or product, and this will affect the professionalism among those professionals. And then professional specialization is a tendency among professionals to focus on a particular field, which may lead to the lack of professional person in other fields. Therefore, they would not be able to give a comprehensive service to their clients. So when we talk about Sharia as the conclusive solution to professional ethics problems, so I refer to Risk, in 2008, whereby he said that the Sharia, wherein Muslim ethics are anchored, has 4 sources. The first source is the Al-Quran, which expresses the work and will of God. And then the Sunnah, the body of customs and practices based on the words and deeds of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and elaborated on by scholars. The third one is Islamic law, which draws on the first 2 sources and is solidified by consensus. And the last one is an individual's own conscience, when the path has not been clarified by the first 3 sources. As a result, the Sharia addresses all questions facing individuals in a dynamic society. Also, interpretive jurisprudence, which is ijtihad, and deduction by analogy, which is qiyas, provide mechanisms for meeting the challenges of different periods. Al-Quran, like the divine scriptures that preceded it, forbade lying, forbade stealing, adultery, and murder. So it also went one step further by providing a new perspective in the form of rules for such fundamental societal institutions such as marriage, kinship, inheritance, warfare, and economic activity. It also focused on commerce and politics, in interest and debts, contracts and wills, and industry and finance. So every act that would promote righteousness and bring evil, whether it benefits the perpetrator or not, is forbidden in Islam. So the laws developed by the Islamic legist drew on the concrete obligations declared in the Al-Quran and supplemented by the recorded recollections of Sunnah and Hadith. And that's all. Okay, so I hope that you will be benefited from the content of this particular topic. Okay, professionals or professional ethics. Alright, so wallahu a'lam bisawab. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.